What you're looking at right now is the most important resource for a rising power in the 15th century: land. More land meant more food. More food meant more people. More people meant more production and larger armies. It was land more than anything else that decided a potential power and influence of a country. In the second half of the 20th century, things have changed. Most countries were able to produce or import enough food to feed their populations. So, electricity, oil, and different technologies dictated how productive a population was. The more it produced, the more a country could tax, which led to better finances. And that meant more influence and a stronger army. So, which one is it now? I would argue that the crucial component was always the same. It was the amount of people. So, here are the questions in this video. Are people a resource? Why is this a bigger advantage than ever before? Will this guarantee that the most populous countries will become the superpowers of tomorrow? Before we begin, I want to tell you my honest opinion. I'm talking about this topic because I think it's interesting. I don't think countries should focus on superpower status. There are many drawbacks, and it comes at a cost in other areas. I think countries have a duty to make lives better for their people, and when possible, for people outside their borders. Or if not to help people outside their borders, then at least a duty not to harm them. So, are people a resource? In the traditional sense, I would say definitely not. And also, I don't think that people should ever be treated as simple resources. But from an economic perspective, this does make some sense because, in a lot of ways, populations and simple natural resources, like let's say oil, behave in similar manners. So let's explore that. Let's say you have an oil well in the desert. Now, you could go and try to dig it up with a shovel, and maybe you'll have some success, but you definitely won't be very profitable or very successful. In order for you to get the most from that oil, you would need a large investment. Then, after some time, you would be able to extract it in an efficient and profitable way. In order for people to efficiently contribute, there needs to be a large initial investment. These are things like education, healthcare, trainings, and so on. Some countries invest more in every individual person and get more out of it. Because of this, some smaller countries, like let's say the Netherlands, can outclass economically far larger ones, like let's say Nigeria. But when countries with massive populations, let's say China, provide even the basic things for its population, due to its accumulated production, they can outclass countries that contribute far more per person. In simple terms, more workers, even if they are less efficient, simply mean more production. More scientists, even if less efficient, mean more innovation. And more entrepreneurs mean more business. So we can see that, at least from a perspective of a country that is trying to become a dominant power, people do function like resources. They require an initial investment, and on average, the larger the investment, the more that person will contribute in the future. Unless it's me who finished a great university and is teaching kids online part of the day and making YouTube videos that nobody will ever watch. I have failed my country. Why is this a bigger advantage than ever before? 100 years ago, technology was concentrated at a small number of countries. The rest were either ignored or, at worst, exploited. Innovation would spread slowly. Today, in a connected world, things are different. If a poor country can provide a basic level of stability, investments will come. This will create a demand for different educational profiles and provide the government with more revenue that it can use to fund healthcare, education, and other necessities. If everything goes well, in time, wages will rise and the workforce will be more educated. Eventually, the country will get domestic investments, companies, and innovation. This is the situation we have seen in China, Vietnam, and most of Eastern Europe. Where does population come in? This trend affects the whole or most of the population. So, a country with 1 billion people will have a massive total production and, in time, innovation and enterprise. Countries with a larger population simply have more potential. Let's see that in an example. If we assume that 1% of people are willing and motivated to become scientists, a country with 10 million people per generation will have more potential for science than a country with 2 million. So, does this mean that India and China are destined for superpower status? Not necessarily. I've spent the video convincing you that it is the most important factor, but it's not the only one. Like with oil or land, this advantage can be squandered. Let's take China for example. I would say that it has the potential to be far more powerful than the United States is currently. But there are problems holding it back, and this advantage will not last forever. I thought about making a video talking about the issues that are stopping China from surpassing the US. That might be interesting to explore. Anyway, time to sum up. I think population is the main factor in becoming a superpower, but it's not the only one. And honestly, as humanity, I think we should move away from trying to assert global dominance. I think, for example, Norway is a far more successful country than any superpower of today or from the past. It will never be a world dominating force, and I think that's okay. Actually, I think it's great. It focused on providing wealth for its citizens, and maybe that's something that all countries should do. So, if you're curious about Norway, check out the video I made where I analyzed and ranked different aspects of the country from its economy and geopolitics to the life of the everyday Norwegian. I also covered something that I consider to be, let's say, dark side of Norway. So if you're curious about that, feel free to check it out. I encourage you to do your own research. This is probably not a good way to get anyone to watch your videos, but honestly, I could be wrong about everything. I do my very best, but still, I could be wrong. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.